guys, welcome back to another episode on the Dynamic Lifestyle Podcast. Raylen Davis with us. Raylen, how you doing, man?
What's going on? Beautiful as always. It's hot as hell here, but so is the podcast. And now, thanks to you, like I got these things. I think they're biceps. Like so, this is all Chris and Eric's work. Fucking do it. Like whatever it is that you need to do today.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode on the Dynamic Lifestyle Podcast. We have a really special guest and one of our friends from Arizona. We got the one and only Raylen Davis with us. Raylen, how you doing, man?
What's going on? Beautiful as always. It's hot as hell here, but so is this podcast is going to be. So it's okay.
Absolutely. Can we see that mug again? You showed us right before we hit record.
Yeah. So I just for you and your listeners, I know you guys like to get after it. Fitness professionals, like and just entrepreneurs in general, know this life, but it's just a nice little reminder that we need to conquer that inner bitch.
Yeah, I like it.
And one thing Eric forgot in that intro, man, is not only friends, but just like now you're our sales coach, man, for the next 2 months.
That's a great detail.
So we're pumped up about that, man.
Which is hilarious. We talked this before. You're on a sales call with me, and I go, "Isn't it funny how years ago? I think it was maybe like 3-4 years ago, maybe even longer now. I was in a sales call with you guys to be my personal trainers, and now thanks to you, like I got these things. I think they were biceps. Like so, this is all Chris and Eric's work. So it's only fitting that I come and help you guys help more people."
Yeah,
right on, man. No, I'm excited. I know you're going to deliver some good stuff to the listeners and stuff too. So I appreciate your time, man. So let's dig into it. So we like to start off the show with a little bit of fun to give like the listeners, an idea of who you are. And we're going to do what's called rapid dynamic questions. So we're going to ask you a series of quick questions and then quick rapid answers. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. So first question, Raylen, is where were you born and raised, and where are you currently living right now?
I was born in Detroit, Michigan. And then grew up in Royal Oak, which is like 20 minutes north of Detroit, in the suburbs, and then moved to Phoenix. Best life hack in the world, in my opinion, is geography. If you move, you can change your whole life.
I like that. I like that a lot. All right. So next thing is if you could have a billboard, man, it could be in Detroit or it could be there in Phoenix. And it was a billboard and it could say anything. What would it say?
Just fucking do it. Like whatever it is that you need to do today, just fucking do it.
Okay. Finish the sentence. The world needs more of
empathy.
Okay.
Okay.
I can explain it too. You said short answers.
I know. I was about to say answers. Dig in because I wanted to hear it, but short it's okay. Answers. Favorite quote.
Oh, damn. It's funny because I'll say this one. This one's been sticking out with me a lot, but discipline equals freedom by Jocko Willink.
Discipline equals freedom.
Okay. I like that. Yep. Is there a daily mantra that you go by?
A daily mantra? Like what?
Like anything like I am statements or just like anything like words of affirmation?
I love the identity side of it, right? So I am statements I think are really good. But I mean, the one thing that I say a lot, again, you have to keep in mind the mentality, and we should probably tell the listeners as well. Like I used to be an MMA fighter. So the way that I approach life is like life is a fight, because it is to me anyway. Mm-hmm. And so every day I just remind myself that I'm the shit. Like I'm the baddest motherfucker on the planet. And it's something that I tell my clients, which by the way, a lot of my clients are like mindset coaches and they're very reserved and affirmations. But I even have to remind them like, you are a bad motherfucker and don't forget it. So anyway, that's usually my hype up.
Okay, I got you. I feel like you're going to be a little biased on this next question, but just kind of speaking on that, what combat sport would you recommend for an entrepreneur to try or test out?
If you're older in life, it would be jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu you can do for your entire life. Like that's my version of golf. Not that I can't golf. I just don't golf. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But jiu-jitsu, if you have the right gym, you could do that, for the rest of your life. I mean, my instructor, my coach, he's 47 years old. And he's still competing. He's still doing things. If you train smart, you can train forever. So that's the one thing that I would say that we can even get into this, because jiu-jitsu in itself is life. Like there's so many great components to jiu-jitsu that are so transferable to life in and of itself. that just going and doing something that's difficult, like jujitsu. Again, the whole premise of jujitsu is it's high risk, high reward chess. Okay. Because it's all about like learning certain skill sets that you have and pairing up with somebody else and going one play after another. And one of the things that happens is you also, when I say high risk, I mean like you literally are you're putting people in positions to act like, hey, I could kill you if I want to. That's what a submission is if I wanted to, I could break your arm. If I wanted to, I could make you go to sleep. And then you tap and you're like, all right, cool, you won that. But I think the reason why it's so important is because too many of us have too big of an ego. And I'll say for myself, I have an ego. And so whether it's in life or in business, when I go to jujitsu, it resets everything. The moment that I try a new move and it fails and I get tapped or something doesn't work or I lose in a competition, it reminds me that there's always someone more bad than you.
Mm-hmm.
There's always someone that's a bad motherfucker and you are never the best in the entire world. It's just literally impossible. There's always somebody, even if you're the champion in UFC or the heavyweight champion of the world in boxing, there's someone that you don't know about that's, somewhere in a cave somewhere training that if you given the chance, they could beat the living crap out of you.
Yeah.
And that sounds crazy, but for me, it's humbling. It's like I leave that, I don't have the chaos in my brain and I go, I'm just human. And it's okay. Let's go.
Exactly, man. It's kind of like that quote by Cuban too, Mark Cuban, where he says like work 24 hours because somebody will take it away from you like quick or something like that. I might have butchered it, but it's true, man.
Yeah. And again, like there's a billion and one different aspect of it. But I remember the one thing that I've been thinking a lot with entrepreneurship came from jiu-jitsu. There's two things. The first thing is a high tide raises all ships. So the way that like I was talking to you guys about this idea that in working with me as a sales coach, I'm not just going to teach you guys how to get more sales. I want to teach you how to teach other people do what I do. Right. And a lot of people are like, no, I'm going to keep certain secrets away. And on Instagram even or in Clubhouse, I give away everything that I do. Why? Because if you learn those concepts and you get better, guess who has to raise the standard? Me.
Yep.
I have to get better. So a high tide raises all ships. In jiu-jitsu, that's how we operate, right? If I get really, really good, that means you have to kind of come up to my level. And then once you're there, I can get even better, right? So that principle came from jiu-jitsu. And the other one is just the idea that once you make jiu-jitsu about yourself, my coach says all the time to us, once you make jiu-jitsu about yourself is when the problem starts. And so again, take out jiu-jitsu, add life. The moment you make life about just you is when all the problem arises, right? In life, if I make my life about a bigger purpose, if I make my business about a bigger purpose, my overarching business mission, goal, vision, whatever you want to call it, is I'm trying to help people realize they deserve more. How I do that is through mindset, sales, whatever, right? But it's not about me. It's about, I want to help as many people realize that as possible because I, for one, at one point didn't realize I deserved more. And that's why things are working okay for me right now. It's because it's not about me. It's about other people. So those are the two things that really stand out to me about jiu-jitsu and why, like, I can't speak enough and highly enough about the benefits, especially an entrepreneur. I think most people have this one problem in the world today. There's two. One, lack of empathy. And two, people don't get choked out enough. Yeah. Right. We have people that think that they're hot shit and they're God's gift to earth. If you got choked out a few times, that would subside substantially. Right. So anyway, that's how I would cure the world.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love that, man. It's such a good perspective. We can go in so many different like directions with that whole conversation, man. So let's transition here. This is a good point to transition into like what got you into entrepreneurism, man. I'm very curious because you've told us that you have a sales background. You were you're training people through sales, right, through a corporate company. So what made you just be like, dude, I'm done with this. Like I'm just gonna go do my own thing.
Hardship. So to your point, like I worked in corporate America. I had a team of about 100 people. Ground and on the phone that I was training. So a call center and people that were doing in-person and meetings. And I loved it. I was traveling the country. We had 30 locations at one point, and every single week I was on the plane training new people. That's actually why I came to you, because I got fat, because I was traveling and eating out all the time. And I was like,
picture you fat.
Dude, you have the pictures because you made me do those embarrassing.
I could dig them up.
Dude, it was bad. So, but anyway, so I'm doing that, whatever, everything's going well. And the company was successful. It's like we were making money, whatever. And we sold, which is great, except for that company closed down half the locations, including, where I was at. I was on the West Coast and didn't keep me on in the role that I was at. So, I get another job and I'm a VP of sales for a medical spa. Like they have a couple of locations and we wanted to grow it. And truth be told, and even if he watches this, they're not speaking out of school, he knows this, but he's just not very good as a leader, right? And so what happened was I was trying to grow this company, but time and time again, like we weren't taking those steps. It would be like he's very much a visionary entrepreneur, where it's like big ideas, very little steps, right?
Gotcha.
The problem is, and this is where the problem that I was having in the situation was I'm also a visionary, right? So we had too many visionaries, not enough implementers. So anyway, long story short, the pandemic happens and I have the situation where I'm furloughed now and I'm thinking to myself, and I remember looking at my son, I'm like, okay, I can get another job and everything's going to be fine. And it's not going to be a big deal. And, the job opportunity comes around, a buddy of mine, and it's a pretty high salary, like a pretty 130 a year. Okay. And I said no. And there was a moment, and I told the guy, and he's a friend of mine, I'm like, I have this idea that I can train entrepreneurs and the same things I did before, but I can train them on how they can help more people. I just know I can do it. I don't know how yet. By the way, by this time I'm making $0. Okay. $0 a year. And I'm like, I think I got to do this. And I remember looking at my son, and this is like the moment that I always talk about. Everyone has like an aha moment. Everyone has a story about their entrepreneur journey that made them go, yep. And for me, it was my son.
Yeah.
I have a 2-year-old son. And I remember like this vision of me having to explain to him one day when he's like, I think I want to do this, Dad. I'm scared as shit. I don't know if it's going to work, but I know I have to do it. And me telling him, you should go for it. And then him coming back to me and go, well, you didn't ever go after your dreams.
Dang.
And it scared the guys. It scared the shit out of me.
Man.
So I was like, you know what? If I'm going to fail, there's 2 companies in a row that necessarily didn't fail, but like in my eyes kind of did. And I didn't have control over it. I had some control, but I was like, if I'm going to go out, if I'm going to be flat broke, if I'm going to fail, I want it to be because of me, no one else. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to do this. And probably 2 weeks later, I had my first 5-figure client. And it just, after that, kind of went crazy. So I think in life for me, how I got into it was I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to have a business. I just never knew what. And then one day I just woke up. I was like, I'm really good at sales. I love helping people like believe in themselves. I've always done it. Like in my past life, all of my employees called me coach. I was like, I'll just do this. So anyway, it came up, I took it. And obviously I haven't looked back and let's just say, only a year, about a year into business and I'm doing better than most, I'll say.
Yeah, dude. And I appreciate you sharing that. And I just love that story that you said that you had that moment with your son. And because there's probably listeners that are in the same position right now. And, that's a beautiful thing that you just looked at and you're like, man, I got to do this, and it's like, just think if you didn't do that, just going forward. But I guess my next question, man, is like after this year of just like building your business, being an entrepreneur, could you ever see yourself going back to like a corporate job?
No, absolutely not. Like, because again, like this is my life, guys. Like, granted, I get up. I told you guys the other day because you guys messaged me at like 7 or 8 o'clock. And you're like, you might still be sleeping, and I was like, no, my master class starts at 5 a.m. Like one of my classes starts at like 5 a.m. my time because a lot of my clients are on the East Coast. A few in like London, stuff like that. So my days, but this is my day. I start like super, super early, but because I have a 2-year-old son, I get to knock out all of my meetings. And by 2 o'clock, I'm done. Obviously, I'm still like DMing people. And as an entrepreneur, we know we're not ever really truly done, but I can schedule my meetings any way I want. So I can spend more time with my son.
Yeah.
Like I can't go, I will refuse to go back. Right. It's too entrepreneurship. If we choose to let it is beautiful, but we do need to be hyper efficient and really skillful. Truth be told, the reason why I can stop, taking meetings after 2 o'clock or even have like in my schedule, you can't book a Saturday with me because Saturday is like for me and my son. But the only reason why I can do that is because I'm hyper efficient with the meetings that I have. I have a high close rate because the way that I do sales. So I don't need to do 1,000 meetings in order to make a few $100, right? Like I only need to land a handful of clients and I'm good. So
yeah.
Fuck awesome, no, I'm never going back.
I just had to throw that in there.
That was the fastest no I've ever heard, man. But I want to change gears here and kind of talk about inspirational selling, right? Because you came on maybe a couple of weeks ago and you talked to our students as a guest expert, man, and they were blown away just by the whole inspirational selling and just how you're coaching them up on that live call. So let's talk about that. Like what is inspirational selling?
Yeah. So for me, So when I got into selling, I read everything everyone else reads, right? Like the Think and Grow Rich, and I was reading the Grant Cardones of the world, the Sell or Be Sold. And again, Grant and I talk every once in a while in Clubhouse. He's a great dude, but it just wasn't for me. I was crushing it at this time when I was in entry level sales, and I was doing really well in sales, but something didn't feel right. It just wasn't me. And I talk a lot about like, you need to find your sell voice. Like you gotta find like what works for you and drive it. It just wasn't working. Again, making money, but just didn't feel right. And then again, what happened was people started calling me coach, because I would stop in the middle of the sales process and go, look, you keep saying, I hope, I wish, you're great. Why are you doing this? And then I would talk to them about like their mindset, what was going on. And then a light bulb clicked off, which was the reason why people don't buy from us is very rarely logical reasons, right? And for those who've been in the game a little bit, you've heard time and time again, people say things like, I don't know if it's right time, or it doesn't feel right. They don't tell you because your program does X, I need Y. That's not what they say. They say, it doesn't feel right. Or I don't really know. I don't know means I'm not in love with you. Like I'm not in love with what you do. There's a problem, right? So we need to inspire people to take action, to move, not trick them, there's strategies for sales, 1,000%, right? You need that. But a lot of what I teach is how do you motivate someone to buy, not just buy anything, but buy from you. And what I found was over time, by inspiring people, what happened was they stayed in your environment because they want to be around you. You're the inspiration. You're the product. What you do is almost like irrelevant, right? So in order to do that, though, you can't just have a really good sales process. It just can't stop there. You also have to inspire them so they keep coming back to you. Like I remember this is a kid that I used to sell like educational programs, right? Which is funny because now as an entrepreneur, I do the same shit. But anyway, in corporate America, this is what I did. I used to write handwritten letters to every single person that I enrolled. But I never just said like, hey, thank you, whatever. I always would think about a quote that stood out to me with this kid. This kid, I'll never forget. His name was Alex, and he had a really bad stuttering problem. And I told him, I said, obviously you're going to be doing this. You're going to be going to school, fine. But also I'm going to be pushing you to improve your stutter. I don't know shit about, what it takes to do that. I said, I'm just going to force you to get comfortable enough with it. Because what was happening was he was not speaking up because he was afraid of his stutter. And what I want him to do is say, fuck the stutter, still speak up, because his confidence was getting in the way of him buying. He didn't believe in himself. So if you don't believe in yourself, you won't believe in your decisions you're making, right? Mm-hmm. So I go, okay, we're going to work on this. And he gets up in front of I think it was 60 people, and he gives a speech. This is, by the way, in between when the program would actually start. And I basically sent him a note, said thank you card for stepping up and doing whatever. His stutter got actually a lot better. Again, I don't know the science behind it, why that worked, but it did. Okay. The point is though, years later, I'm talking 4 years later, he sends me a picture of that same thank you card that I had in his binder, and was like, anything that you do from this point forward, I want to know about it. Because I want to be a part of it. Okay. Again, light bulb clicks. This is before I was an entrepreneur. And then that's when I realized, oh, wait, if we inspire people to become better with us, not only are you getting them to buy once, but they'll buy from you for a lifetime. And that's the trick. Look, we're all in this age of I need more leads. I need more leads. I need more leads. When instead you can look at who you have now, right? Or who's in your pipeline now. How can I get them to be like, fuck yes, everything this person does is amazing. Anything they put out, I'm buying. So that way you can sustain that way. Right. And not to mention too, they love you. Right. That's all. So yeah. That's kind of the premise behind inspirational selling.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say too, man. So I love what you said that you're the product. And I think that's where a lot of people forget sometimes, they're trying to scale, they're trying to automate everything, right? But they forget at the end of the day that you are the product, right? The people are buying coaches, not coaching, right? So to kind of instill that inspirational selling, would you say that these people need to be more vulnerable, more empathetic, and they need to maybe share more of their messes instead of all this highlight bullshit that everybody keeps sharing, that they never make mistakes and they're killing it and crushing it?
Yeah, 1,000%. Look, a lot of the times, a lot of the things I talk about is my vulnerability around being a father, because I didn't grow up with a dad and I don't know what I'm doing 90% of the time. And there's some days I get really frustrated with my son because I'm trying to work and, he's home because he's not in daycare and all these things. And I talk about that. And I talk about the fact that I'm struggling. There's some days that I'm struggling. I got on my stories, I think like a few weeks ago. I talked about the fact that like I didn't show up for a while because vulnerable, you have to come. I forgot who said it, but somebody said once, you need to be vulnerable from a scar, not an open wound.
Mm-hmm.
So once you are vulnerable and you've learned from it and you have something to give, at that point you should share it. Not when you're in the middle of it. Like, I don't really recommend, granted, some of my clients actually do this and it's phenomenal because they're that comfortable with their community, but I don't really recommend getting on stories and crying, right? But after the cry, when you've like thought about it, I think it's great, you know? And I think, again, what we're doing is, especially as coaches, is you're trying to get somebody that is at level 10 to get to where you are. That's all we're doing, right? So if you're at level 50, how do you get from someone from 10 to 50? You have to also talk about your vulnerabilities because they themselves have vulnerabilities. They themselves don't believe in themselves. They themselves think that they can't do it. So if you go, hey, I have those feelings too. I was going to come out with this program. I didn't know if anybody would buy it. I said, fuck it. I did it anyway. Now look at how successful I am. I want to help you do the same thing, right? That's what people buy, not, again, what we do as much.
I know what you're thinking. You're probably like, dude, come on. I was literally watching this video, watching this interview, and you literally just pop up on the screen and interrupt it. Trust me, there's a good reason for this. Just hold on, and I'm gonna let you get back to that interview or that video. Trust me, all right? So the reason why I stopped you on this is because we're giving away our book 100% free. Okay, so if you're a frustrated fitness professional, you're not growing fast enough, you're looking to future-proof and recession-proof your business by adding online training, or if you're doing online training, you want to scale and grow faster, all you have to do is check out our new book. We're giving the audio away, we're giving the PDF away. So all you have to do is click the link below in the description box and get your free copy. All right, so now back to the video.
Yeah, exactly, man. No, I like that too. And then another thing I want to like tackle going back into the inspirational selling. I want to use a couple examples. If you can give like a couple tips, man, this would be great. So let's say I see where you're at with the inspirational sales, and I see that working really well for like people that have been following you for a little bit. They know, like, and trust you. So let's kind of go this other direction. Let's say like it's just cold people, cold traffic that don't know you. They've just followed you, and then it's like you're trying to sell them. So how do you inspire them through that and have them take action?
It's all about taking extra time. So actually, I was talking to a client the other day, and we're talking about LinkedIn. Granted, this is very different. You guys are on LinkedIn, you know. People cold pitch all day long, okay, on there. Nobody reads them. Like if I show you my LinkedIn, it's like I have 1,000,001 unread messages. I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah. Here.
So what do? You have to stand out. How do you stand out? By giving more time, active generosity. This is the key to inspirational selling. So the example I gave her was, look, what if instead of like cold DMing and saying this and the other thing, we take something and we connect ourselves personally to inspire them to continue doing what they're doing? That's great. So for example, on LinkedIn, there's a great thing that's called recommendations. People will be like, Chris and Eric are phenomenal because of X, Y, and Z. You can read, let's say you had 5 recommendations, you'll see a common thread. It'll be like this person, like for mine, a few things are like, he's an innovator, like he's always thinking, whatever. So if I'm reaching out to me, it'd be like, one of the things that I absolutely loved about looking at your recommendations is that beyond anybody else I've seen today, it's about innovation. It's about change. You are inspiring the world one person at a time, and I can absolutely tell. So I just want to give you a shout out for that. I think it's amazing. I'm stroking your ego, but I'm also giving you, I took time as the point, right? The reason why the spray and pray method, for coaches anyway, is not ideal. It's great for companies, by the way. It's great for corporations. The spray and pray method does work for some people, but not for coaches, right? Well, you either have time or you have money. It takes money to do spray and pray. It only takes time to do the other thing, which is, if I were looking at you guys, again, I have no idea who you are. I'm looking at what you do. I'd reach out to you and say, look, I've watched your stories and I can tell you genuinely are frustrated with the way fitness professionals have been trained in the past. And you actually give a fuck about these people. So I just want to take a minute, like as somebody who loves helping people, like I have to say, I'm all about it. It's just taking a little bit of time and inspiring them to continue doing the behaviors that we want them to have, which is like, again, doing great things, like whatever. So that's how I would handle that for somebody that's cold.
I like that. It's a great example.
Yeah. And I guess what I'm trying to go with this one, man, is just like, do you see like this inspirational selling kind of like strategy, like being kind of like the future, right? Because just think about all the stuff that like has gone on, man, the pandemic, how fear like based people are, like the uncertainty, right? Just like all the shit that's happened, man. Like, do you see this evolving into just like being like the new type of like selling with inspiration?
Which is so the funny thing is it's I'm not inventing anything like brand new. It's always been there. But the funny thing is the way I'm articulating it, I think is what's unique, right? So for example, I used to always tell my people, like when you're my clients as well, is like, stop going on sales calls thinking you're selling somebody something. You're a life coach, right? You're a life coach. You're helping somebody get over their bullshit to take action. Now, here's the thing. I always say, inspire someone to take action. I don't give a fuck if it's with you or not. Because here's the deal. If I met with you guys and the next day you reach out to me and said, hey, Ray, like you went from not knowing you had a sales problem and you met with me and the next day you went with somebody else, that's still a win in my book. Why? Because I inspired you to move. Yep. That's still a sale. It's for the wrong person, but it's still a sale. I have something to kind of tweak. So the point is, though, as we go and increase in this world of automation, this will stand out the most. The best companies in the world, one of my favorite companies, I don't know if you guys have it in Texas, my favorite coffee shop. This is actually where this idea really like came to fruition. So I have to give them credit. It's a place called Dutch Bros.
Yeah, we've heard of that
place. Okay, Dutch Bros is my favorite place in the world. Okay, when you go there, it's only outside. There's a line around the fucking block to get coffee. Yep. It takes 2 hours to get one fucking coffee. Okay, the coffee's probably not that great. I really don't know. I think it's good, but according to, I don't know, right? But what do they do differently that I'm obsessed with? Why is that line so fucking long? Let's analyze it. When the customer, when the person comes to take your order at the window, the first thing they'd ask you is, "Hey, what's going on with your day?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm just, again, other people's do this, not that normal." What's different is they actually fucking listen. They'll say, "Oh my God, you're going to go hang out with your son today? What are you guys going to do?" By the way, everyone's still waiting. And this person is taking their time, looking you in the eyes and then they relate. So they don't just go, "Oh, that's cool that you're doing that. Okay, what's your order?" It's, "What are you doing today?" "Oh my God, I can relate to that because I actually just went to like Havasu like 2 weeks ago and I loved it there. Like, what are you going to do there?" "Okay, so anyway, I got to get your order. So what's your order?" So every time you go there, you're like, it's like Cheers. They fucking know you.
That's
and
crazy.
You're like, I want to go because by the way, too, the way that they select their people, I happen to meet like one of the regional people there at a UFC fight. And this is how I think he was one of the co-founders because one of the other founders had passed away. Long story. Anyway, but I met him and it dawned on me afterwards. I'm like, this makes sense because at the UFC fight, the guy, we never talked about work. He just kept talking to me about whatever. He was super interested and interested people are interesting. So he kept digging, wanted to know my whole damn life basically. And the guy walks away and my friend goes, "You know who that is?" He's like, "He's one of the co-founders of Dutch Bros." Fucking makes sense. They injected personality into what they're doing. So long story short, not actually short at all, but the reason why this is going to happen is because as automation continues, we crave more and more humans.
Exactly.
Like when's the last time you had to correct something, let's say for your internet, whatever, you had to fucking wait and listen to a robot tell you to click this, click that. Oh no, that doesn't actually work. You wait there forever only to find out that it's just like a 4-year information kind of thing. And then they're like, if you want to wait for somebody, and you're fucking frustrated. Why? Because you want to just talk to a human being.
Exactly.
So as we automate more with sale, again, this is not me being against sales funnels and automation, right? It's about how can we triple down and spend some money on the human element to increase the likelihood of somebody wanting to stay with us forever, right? So it's like if somebody goes to your email list, cool, they get the email list. Can we tweak it to have a more human feel and not just like putting, "Hey, Eric," and it's like that one fucking thing. It's, can you take some time for the people that open to go and connect with them personally and say something about them that right? Yeah. Can you, one of the silly things that I do is that if I hear somebody's, let's say it's a potential lead or even a client or whatever, every single person's birthday that they say it, I go right to my calendar, I put it in. And I'll maybe add a note to it, right? In Facebook Business Week, there's a great component where every single lead or every single person on there, you can add notes. So let's say you saw something in the stories that goes away after 24 hours, they mention about their kid or that they went somewhere, add it to your notes. And then randomly take an hour a day and give acts of generosity. Reach out to someone and say, "Hey, 2 weeks ago, you mentioned in your stories that you're going to go on a trip with your son. How did that go?" It's the fact that we give a fuck that leads to them buying. 90% of sales is just giving a fuck.
Man,
that's all it is.
Man. So good. I was gonna say, man, like pour some water on that mic, but there's no mic there. But That's
Listen,
good.
You guys know me by now. You
That's
guys
good.
cut me off sometimes. So I can talk about this shit forever.
No, it's fine. Like I said, man, like I knew you're going to give some good stuff around that. So thank you, man. Thank you for sharing. I know the listeners will get some good nuggets out of that. So let's shift gears, man. Like, we're all about, we're high performers. Chris and I, I'm curious about like people's rituals, habits. Like what are some of your rituals, habits, and non-negotiables on a day-to-day basis, man, that just get you going to play offense and not defense every day?
Yeah, I don't think it's like anything unique. The one thing that I added probably a few months ago, because I wasn't feeling myself. Like something was missing. And I was like, what's going on? And so it was really just taking time to breathe and do yoga. Mm-hmm. So in the mornings, my goal is only to do 10 minutes of yoga every single day. Just 10 minutes of yoga. Some days it's more, right? Some days I do like a 30-minute class, 40-minute class, whatever. But even if I only do 30 minutes of yoga every single day, that's still 10 minutes rather every single day. That's still 70 minutes that I spent in my own brain and breathing. Mm-hmm. So for my key is that obviously, I'll work out and I do jiu-jitsu. The one thing I will say that I have to work out. I have just chaos in my brain. All right. Like many of us. And the non-negotiable for me is checking in with me. So a lot of people journal. I don't really like writing, mainly because I can't read my handwriting anyway. It's just like chaos. So a lot of the times I just talk through things. I talk to myself a lot. I'll do voice notes if I have a thought or a question rather. And I think the one thing that I could say that maybe is a little bit different than some people, that's a habit of mine, is asking questions. So I try to be incredibly curious with not just, the business or the industry, but also myself. Like, I'll give you an example, right? So one of the most frustrating things as a parent is feeding your damn kid. It just drives me up a wall. Okay. So I'm sitting there feeding my kid and he won't eat. He's just like, nope, like I'm good. And I'm like, bro, you need to eat. And I'm literally so infuriated right now. And I'm like, I just want you to fucking live. Just eat something, right? I know the parents listening to this will be like, do I know? But so there's this moment where, again, this is where curiosity comes into play, is I took a step back. I'm livid at this point, right? Again, this is a stupid thing. I'm just trying to get my kid to eat. And I asked myself, like, why am I so mad? What is it about that's happening right now that's causing me to get this upset? There's something here that's not about what's going on. And then boom, it dawns on me that, again, I didn't grow up with a dad. It's really, I'm co-parenting with his mom. I want to be a good dad. And if he doesn't eat, I perceive that as being like a bad dad. Mm-hmm. So I just stopped for a second. And I was like, hey, is there something else you want to eat? And then he'd stop for a second and he started eating. And then I just kind of like slowly let him eat. And then when he said he was full, I didn't force him to eat more. I said, all right, cool, we're good then. If he gets hungry later, it's annoying, but whatever. The point is, if I'm curious enough of myself, I can figure out what's going on with me, even in relationships. Like, if you ask yourself the stupid shit we get mad about, what's really going on with me right now? That normally doesn't make me mad. Why does it make me mad now? I think we can figure out some more shit. So anyway, that's it's off, but I don't know if it's necessarily the question you're asking, but anyway, that's something that I do a lot.
No, that's amazing. I mean, that's good value. I mean, because again, like it's like, I'm always going to say we're our own worst enemies, no matter what. Like we always have so much going on. It's like, it's always something that we're dealing with, and it's probably something that's out of our control, right? I'm big on like the controllables versus uncontrollables. And 90% of the time we're stressed and angry about things that we cannot control.
Have you guys read Extreme Ownership, by the way?
Yeah. That's a really good book. Yeah.
So it's funny because when you said like non-controllables and controllables, absolutely there's things that are out of our control a lot of times. But I think for me, it's like a lens thing. Everything in my world I can control. And by control, I don't mean the whole thing. I mainly mean like I have persuasion over it, right? Like, so for example, especially as your company gets bigger and you have employees, if your employee fucks up, it's your fault. You didn't explain it well enough, right? I was talking to a client and she has a bunch of employees, and a lot of my clients, they come for sales, but it's funny because as we dig in more, sometimes there's other issues going on that leads to sales, right? For her, it was leadership. And I told her, I was like, it's your fault. What are you talking about? You didn't clearly explain what her objectives were, right? You didn't explain to her what happens if she doesn't hit those fucking objectives. You didn't sell her on the mission. She doesn't understand the mission. And how you can find out is you ask them, hey, why do you think this is important that I'm making you do this, right? If they don't fucking know, or if they make some shit up, it's your fault. So I think to your point, it is really important to know what you can control and you can't control. But I think to me, I control everything, right? I have ownership over all things in my life. The thing that varies though is how much of that ownership that I actually have, right? They're in relationships. There is a point where, you can own everything, but if you're dealing with a narcissist, like you're screwed, right? So you have to own what you can. And that ownership is, I shouldn't have been in the relationship in the first place, right? I can always find something that you should fucking own, right? So anyway, but
I like what you said though, how you can put that little twist of like being persuasive on it, to somehow like look at it to where you can control it. So that was good, absolutely, man. I'm going to go a little bit deep on you on this question, but let's just say you had 5 years to live. What would you stop doing right now?
Damn, that's a really good question. Yeah. To be honest, and if something hits me, I'll let you know. Well, I'll say this. I think I would probably not rest. I do take rest, like I mentioned in my stories earlier today, like I'm taking the weekend off, but with limited time, I'd probably not rest. Like I would get less sleep. Like I would just fucking grind to do whatever I do. Because I think for me, and this is the one thing I'm grateful for in my life, is that I am pretty strict on what I say yes to. So my life is pretty damn boring. There's not a lot of stuff that I do that I don't like. I'm an entrepreneur. I get to decide who I work with, right? A lot of sales and entrepreneurship there's clients that maybe you're persuading to work with you, but also for me, I don't reach out to people that I don't want to work with.
Yeah.
If I have seen your post for a while and you seem like you're not coachable, or if you seem like, one of those people that like make excuses every fucking turn, I'm good. Yep. Right. And so because of that, I have a lot of free time. And so everything that I do right now leads me to who I am today. So like jiu-jitsu and weightlifting and spending time with my son and my girlfriend and work, I fucking love my goddamn life. All right. Every part of my life is the shit. So to answer your question, I think the only thing I would do is sleep less, honestly. But I don't know.
That's good, man.
Love that, man. So Raylen, what's next for you, man? Like what's next on the agenda, like going forward? Like give us a little bit of a taste of like what's going forward.
Yeah. So right now, as you guys know, you guys are part of it. July 5th, we're starting out the program again, the sales programs. We're working on that. There's also a coaching program that I'm a partner in that we help people go from nothing to fucking full-fledged businesses. I think the main thing with that is like, what's interesting is, and we talked about this yesterday too, I think, is that even if you're making 10K a month, 15K a month, and you've been doing that for 2 years, you have a problem. You're comfortable. That's the fucking problem, right? There's still more that you could be getting, but you're like playing it safe, so to speak. So anyway, those are the two things that, again, this comes back to what I said earlier. I think too many of us have too many fucking things going on. At one given time, I really only have 3, right? I have my sales program, I have the business coaching program, and then there's something else we're working on, which is a super high level mastermind. But that's 3 things, right? I'm not spread thin. I'm happy. Yep. So that's really it.
Yeah. Okay. And that's so true, man. We can go on a whole nother episode on just like people just having way too much shit on their plate to be able to do, and they can't focus on getting shit done. So that's so true. But Raylen, before I ask the last question, man, I want to just commend you for a minute and just say that, man, just like I've seen your growth, like honestly over the years, you were my client, at first, and then man, like we met in person there in Phoenix that one time, had a couple of beers, and then I've just seen your growth, man, just like, like becoming a father, and just removing yourself from like the corporate America and just being a leader, man, and just coming to speak to our students and now being able to coach us with sales and help us get to that next level. So I just want to say, man, like you're inspirational. You really are, man. That growth I've seen is just really fucking awesome. So keep what you're doing, man, because people are watching.
And I echo that.
Dude, I greatly appreciate that, man. I think the thing is we all have a choice, and I don't know when exactly it happened. And I think it was pretty much like when I was a little bit younger and growing up in Detroit and then moving to the suburbs and being like the poorest people there, being evicted from our houses. There was a moment that I realized that this shit's a fucking choice, right? As a family, we chose to be in that situation. And so for me, every time that I can, I have to, again, being curious about yourself is going like, do I choose this life? Yes or no, right? The things that are coming to me, is this what I want? Because if no, you have to move, you have to change something, right? And for me, again, it's always come from like sports and whatever. I used to wrestle and all that other shit. But for me, it was like, if I'm not getting better, I'm getting worse. So what can I do to change, right? Who do I want to be? And so when I met you guys to now, the biggest leaps and bounds came from me sitting down, as stupid as this sounds, sitting down and making out like a manifesto of who Raylen Davis is going to be, right? What do I want to be known for? When I die, what do I want my son to tell, the funeral home about me, right? And it really came down to not being afraid to go after shit that maybe I shouldn't have, right? That I'm not good enough to have, whatever, and saying fuck it and going after it anyway. It was the fact that I want to make people feel good about themselves and feel pumped up and excited. And I wanted to be me. Like I texted you guys before this, and I was joking around. I was like, hey, can I swear on this podcast? Because I gotta like really focus. And to me, my personal brand, and there's a whole conversation on personal branding too, but because personal branding is inner work. Like you can't have a personal brand without doing that inner work and knowing who the fuck you are.
For sure.
And when I got into entrepreneurship, I said the one thing I'm not going to do is sugarcoat how I speak. I'm not going to not swear. I'm not going to call people out, because the one thing I figured out, I think I said this maybe in the masterclass even too, was when I was kind of doing market research on me, I asked my friends and family, what do you love about me? Like what? And then of course, at first they were like making jokes, whatever. I was like, no, for real. Like a lot of my friends, I've been friends with them for like, since I was in elementary school. I have the people I'm going to hang out with this weekend. There's 16 of us. We've been friends since like 5th grade. Okay. And I asked them like, hey, what do you love about me? And it was 2 things. I'm always going to get Raylen. If I call him, no matter what happens, he's always going to be him. And he's always going to answer the phone. So for me, it was like, I need to bring, personal branding is basically speed to relationship. That's what it's about, right? Like you go to my page, you feel like you know me. That's like the goal. And so for me, the reason why I'm always swearing, I swear, but I say I love you right afterwards, right? Like that's like usually when I'm coaching people, I usually go with, hey, I love you, right? And then they know, they're like, oh shit, yeah. All right, you're fucking up, right? But that's my brand. So for me, it really started with who do I want to be? What do I want to be known for? And then you go after that shit. And then everything else can fuck off.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Dude, I can see it. I can see those 2 things like 100%, man, like very transparent and clear, man. So Raylen, thanks so much for your time on this, man. This has been super awesome. So where can the listeners, follow everything that you're doing to keep up with you?
Yeah, just check me out on Instagram at Raylen Leads. I'm also on Clubhouse, same name, Raylen Leads. Don't go to Twitter because I don't fucking post there. But yeah, if you really, for your listeners, I mean, anybody that needs anything, just shoot me a DM. I'm the one that checks my DMs. I'm the one that responds. Yeah, I'm always here for you guys, and I'm really excited for you too, man. I think we're going to do a lot of good together. And I know that a lot of fitness professionals also check out this podcast. So I said this again to your mastermind, but the need for people helping people has never been higher.
Yep.
The lack of empathy is killing us as a society, right? We don't care about one another. And so when I hear like for you two that you're helping fitness professionals, right? You're helping people that are entrepreneurs, whatever. During the pandemic, we saw something that was terrible. It was isolation. That's the worst punishment we can possibly have on one another. And now we're going into this world where everyone feels like they can't trust the next person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so if we can embed more empathy into the world, it will solve all problems. There's a reason why in the craziest world that we live in today, between the pandemic and the world kind of splitting apart, and you have these party lines and I'm in this club or that club or this, whatever. I decided I'm going to take a stand. I'm not going to go and protest this or that. I'm just going to teach people how to be empathetic. I'm going to teach emotional intelligence, because for me, if we are all more emotionally intelligent, the world will get better, period. Right? So the only thing I'm going to say to your listeners and everybody else, including you, is continue helping people because the world needs it.
Man,
For sure, man.
way to close that out, man. I couldn't agree more. So guys, go check out Raylen on his Instagram. We'll have that linked up in the show notes. What you see here is what you're going to get, and he will respond to your guys' messages. So once again, Raylen, thank you so much for your time, man. Really appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you guys.
All right, guys, until next time.
Hey, just want to say thanks so much for watching that interview we did with Raylen Davis on the new way to sell, which is inspirational selling. Would love to hear your biggest takeaway below. Next thing I want you to do is I want you to watch this video that we did, this interview in person with Bedros Keuilian. If you guys don't know who Bedros Keuilian is, been sleeping under a rock. So check out that interview we did with him. Tons of gold, tons of wisdom, knowledge, and experience that man has. So please watch that right there, and we'll see you guys next time.